Hey everybody, this is Paleo Eats episode 2, and basically we're trying to bring together paleo lifestyle and a more culinary angle. So we're going to look at things from how to eat well but eat good. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and start episode 2. Alright, so episode 2 here, the star of the show today is this guy. Now, admittedly I'm not going to be prepping an actual raw coconut, but coconut is the theme of the show, and at least one preparation for coconut. So first, I guess I kind of want to talk about just coconut itself and what a coconut is. A coconut is actually a drupe, which another example of a drupe would be a peach. If this were a peach, this would actually be the pit inside. So outside would be this large fleshy piece that you actually eat, and this would be the part of the peach that you throw away. Now the coconut is kind of reverse. If you've ever seen a coconut, been to Hawaii or someplace like that, or the beach where you see a big coconut, they're much, much bigger. There's a big fleshy bit on the outside that actually encompasses the whole coconut. And then this is the inside piece, the seed, really. And inside of this is actually, there's a little thing called an embryo. And then at the end, you can see these 3 little spots on the end of the coconut. Now, that's actually where, if this were fully fleshed and sitting on the beach, it would actually sprout out of these little spots here. So this is part of the seed of the coconut plant, the coconut palm. Now, coconut is actually a health food, and I mean I'm going to say a healthful food. It's certainly got a bad rap because the coconut meat is high in saturated fats, and as a result of that, a lot of people are afraid of saturated fats. There's no evidence that actually links saturated fat to heart disease. I'll come out and say that, and there's going to be some stuff in the blog post supporting that, but for now you'll hopefully already kind of be on board with that as a concept if you're in the paleo community. Some specifics about what is healthful about coconut, and coconut oil specifically. Coconut oil is high in medium chain triglycerides, or MCTs. MCTs are unique in the way they're actually processed by the body. In difference to long chain triglycerides, they do not require bile salts, and they actually have a unique path through the gut, which is interesting, and it actually is, they're known to be somewhat beneficial for folks who have basically malabsorption issues. They can get MCTs through the gut much more readily than other fat sources. So it's a good source of fat for those folks who have gut damage from one reason or another. In addition to that, the MCTs are known by folks who are advocates of a ketogenic diet to help in basically maintaining and promoting a ketogenic state. Specific to the MCTs, there is something called lauric acid. It's one of the medium chain triglycerides. About 50% of the medium chain triglycerides in coconut is lauric acid. So lauric acid is a medium chain triglyceride. What's interesting about lauric acid is it has a lot of antimicrobial effects. In fact, it's been shown to reduce the viral load in HIV patients. It's been shown to help infants stave off infection, respiratory disease, things like that. So there's a lot of evidence that suggests that it's beneficial against all kinds of infectious disease, both bacteria, viruses, and protozoa. So basically anything that's a fat or lipid-coated I'll say microbe, those things can be actually combated by what is a metabolite of lauric acid, or monolaurin is what it's called. So in total, coconut is a very, very healthful food, and there's a lot of benefits, and frankly it's really tasty, and that's actually where I'm going to go with this. So today I'm going to show you how to make coconut milk and coconut cream at home. Okay, so coconut milk. Now, coconut milk is a pretty simple product made from coconut. And basically what it is it's the water extraction of the coconut meat. Now, the coconut meat is what you'll find on something like a snowball, if you've ever had one of those. Not real paleo. But basically, what you find there is you find sweetened dried coconut. What they do with the coconut is sweeten it, obviously, but that dried coconut meat which comes from the inside flesh of the coconut seed, what we think of as a coconut. That flesh is basically harvested out of there, ground out, cut out, and then it's soaked in water, sometimes hot water, and then what you do is you basically sieve out all the solids from the coconut, the meat that's left over, you strain the water through it, the water that comes off becomes coconut milk. And so here I've got 3 coconut milks that I got at the local kind of, Oriental international market, Lily's Oriental Supermarket, if you guys are from the East Valley in Phoenix. Now these range from about $1 to about $1.70. We've tried a couple of these at home here for making Thai curries. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the lower priced ones. Not to say that all of them aren't that great, but I'm not a big fan of the flavor. I find that the flavor is a little bit off. I think it may have to do with the canning process. We've used a Thai Kitchen, and that stuff runs nearly $4 a can. I do like the flavor of that a lot more, but at $4 a can, it's almost 4 times as much as some of these. So obviously there's something going on. I will say this, these tend to actually be a little bit better in the sense that they're just coconut milk and sometimes water. Some of them have like a metabisulfite. I won't say that I know exactly what that is chemically, but I believe it's put in there as a preservative. The Thai Kitchen stuff that I've used, I'm kind of going by memory, but it does have some thickening agents and things in it that kind of, I think, both homogenize and sort of thicken up the mix. I will point out that there is a difference between coconut milk and coconut cream. Basically, coconut cream has a higher fat content than coconut milk. Basically, it's more of the coconut extract, if you will, and less water. So I'll be talking in a minute about how to make both coconut milk and then go one step further and get coconut cream. Okay, so a lot of folks might be asking themselves, at $1 a can, why am I going to bother to make my own coconut milk? There's a whole bunch of reasons for me personally. One is taste. Another is I know where the coconut I'm making mine from comes from. Frankly, at $1 a can, people are not able to put too much effort into sourcing, USDA organic coconut. That's something that I had the option of doing myself at this kind of small scale. It's probably more than $1 a can, but that's kind of what I'm in it for personally. I source my coconut chips from Tropical Traditions. I'm sure there's other companies out there. They work great for me. I went with coconut chips because they were the cheapest by the pound. And this is about the size you get. And you can see it's actually a pretty decent size, good size for making trail mix and stuff like that. I'll just grab a handful of this stuff and eat it. It's actually pretty tasty. It's not sweetened, so it's not like chomping into a snowball or something like that. In fact, I think it's got a sweetness to it that's actually just perfect all by itself. So this is what we're starting with, and this is what's going to go into the blender and basically form the base of what we will extract our coconut milk from. And I'll point out something about coconut milk, and this is kind of conjecture on my part, but I believe it to be true. My wife and I, take a regular dose of fish oil. For a long time, we would get our fish oil from Costco, and I think it's pretty common for a lot of folks because it's a pretty inexpensive way of getting fish oil. So my wife had a lot of issues digesting the fish oil, just really did not agree with her at all, and just didn't want to take it. We went with the enterically coated fish oil. It kind of helped, but frankly was still pretty unpleasant. Recently we went to a liquid fish oil, Carlson's fish oil in fact, and neither of us have any issues whatsoever, despite the fact that they're not enterically coated. You're drinking straight fish oil, so it's going straight into your stomach. That leads me to believe that there's either an additional ingredient in the fish oil which really isn't clearly listed on the label, or frankly the fish oil that's in those capsules is kind of already south. Now, I can't say this is true, but based on my own kind of taste testing, I'm going to hazard a guess that stuff that goes into a can has been processed in a way that's perfectly safe to consume, but part of getting it safe really affects the flavor. So when you go fresh, you're going to get something. And I'll say something, coconut fats in general, because they're saturated fats, are much more stable than something like olive oil or anything that's an unsaturated fat, whether mono or polyunsaturated. So they are naturally a bit more stable, but still, the canning process is going to do something a little bit funky, like it or not.